We'll just see with the new temple, I guess. You see the new service opportunities there. You can now go on a service mission to the temple to do any non-ordinance stuff.
All right, well, we're
Like
live on YouTube now.
Oh, really?
So you want
Like
So
landscaping or?
administrative, landscape, security, any of the or it is now a mission. And your stake president, they're doing it everywhere else, but so then your stake president remains your mission president, but then you're under the direction of the temple president.
Mhm. Wow, so security, landscaping,
Do you know who they called to take your place
what?
for the missionary?
They haven't. They haven't. Well, and that's better anyway, because they really aren't. The senior missionaries really can't do anything.
That's true.
So, okay, we're waiting for Renee and Jared.
You don't have to do it.
Okay. Okay. Steve, would you say our opening prayer? I had Renee down, but she isn't here yet, so. I know she's been sick with COVID too.
Oh, she has?
Yeah, I think this is her
Password?
second time.
Really?
Wi-Fi? Lindon internal, is that,
Yeah, last week she texted me to say she and her husband had been sick.
NOD,
Let's see if there's someone coming in, and then we'll go ahead and
NIL?
start. Someone coming, is that Jared or someone coming in?
It's Mike.
Oh, it's Mike, okay. Okay. Oh,
incorrect
there's
password.
Jared.
Maybe I heard it wrong. One more time. These are all small case?
Yes, NODNIL.
I've got to get this up.
Small t, 131.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and
Internal.
start. I thought maybe
Incorrect
Renee
password.
would be here, but
Let me see here.
you ready? You want us to wait a minute?
Wait just a second.
Uh-huh.
Lindon guest, Lindon internal. Guest? And what is guest? Do I need a password for that?
There's a password on that one.
Yeah.
I got internet.
What?
I got internet.
You got in?
Yeah.
It's been too long since I've been
Asking
here. It
for a
doesn't like me.
password. I don't know, I've never had to do this before.
You need a voice?
No, NODNIL.
Mike, I'm having the same issue. Can you, is there a password for that?
I'll give it to you. Then we're not pronouncing it all over.
Yeah. Can you, let me,
What is this?
We'll wait
How do I
just a
get,
minute to start, so. we
what's that,
can-
undercase?
And for it's an uppercase U.
I wonder
Oh,
why I
okay.
didn't have a problem.
Plus,
Well, that's a T, sorry.
T,
Bunch of
small t.
slivers.
Is this an uppercase N?
And then forward slash.
Oh, don't cut your finger off there. That looks scary.
Incorrect password for Lindon city guest.
That just connected me to the internal one.
It did?
okay, and that's a T.
got it?
It's checking.
Lindon, the Lindon internal is the one you want.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it can't connect, but
There you go, got it.
I'll still put my hotspot.
There's not a capital N.
Are you in, Steve?
It's not a
No.
capital N.
That first one
I
isn't?
can connect through my phone, I think.
Just Nodnil. Capital U. T131.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Steve?
Yeah, that got me in.
Okay.
He can look at mine while,
Renee, while
I've
we're,
looked at it before, so I should be.
good.
So just a reminder to talk close to your microphone.
They're having a tough time getting into their iPads or laptops, so we haven't started yet, Renee, so.
Oh, okay, well, lucky me.
Okay. Tell me when, Steve.
go ahead, he can look at mine, till his fires up, it's gonna
Okay.
fire up in a minute.
Okay. Well, we'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for February 9th, 2021. And it's been a long time since we've all been here together, and a long time since we've met, since before Christmas. And we're glad to have public here with us. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to begin our meeting this evening with an opening prayer by Commissioner Johnson and a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Callis.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together as the Planning Commission in this great city. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to be citizens here and to enjoy the beauty that's around us. We ask thee to please bless us, that we can be guided to make correct decisions and that we can know what is best for this city. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please rise and repeat the pledge of allegiance with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We'll have a audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here,
Jared Showers.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Stephen Johnson.
Here.
Scott Thompson.
Here.
And Renee Tribe. Okay. And commissioners, the next item on our agenda, commissioners have received the minutes and had a chance to review those. These are the minutes from December 8th, 2020, which was 2 months ago. And as you reviewed those, do you have any corrections or changes to the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
Okay,
I'll
do I have a
second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now, item number 3 is a time for public comment. This would be for any items that are not already on the agenda for this evening. Okay, we'll go on to item number 4. This is Lakeview West Warehouse Condominium Plat A at 31 South, 1800 West. Our applicant is Joel Pilling. Is that you? If you'd like to come up the front, we'd be happy to have you do that. There should be a sign-in sheet there. Okay. And our presenting staff is Michael Florence. I'll let you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate your time this evening. It's great to be here with you. Mr. Pilling has applied for major subdivision approval. If you remember back in March, nearly this time, we reviewed his application for two 35,000 square foot office warehouse buildings. You approved that site plan approval March 2020. So Mr. Pilling is now desiring to condominiumize these two buildings. The first building on the east side is nearing completion. We're ready to release the building plans for the back building, if we haven't already. So condominiums, really, they follow our major subdivision process. So the Planning Commission you're the kind of recommending body, or you give preliminary approval. The City Council will give final approval. Other than that, our ordinance relates or directs us to Title 57, the condominium code, under state law. So the location is there on 1800 West. You've got before you, let me minimize that slightly. You've got the condominium plat. So each building, they're nearly identical. Both buildings will have 5 suites. The entrance is off 1800 West. So on a condo plat, they measure the interior dimensions of the building or of each unit, and that will be recorded as part of the plat. You can see on these, it also shows you the mezzanine level above on the second level, and then here's the exterior elevations as well. So in your staff report, we also included the original site plan that was approved. So this is just south of the storage units that were built a few years ago. And then we have a letter from Mr. Pilling's attorney stating that he's reviewed the CCNRs for the project. And then these were the renderings that you approved last year at this time. So we've got some different renderings here of the buildings. Very attractive buildings. Similar buildings were built by Mr. Pilling on 200 South a few years ago. So with that, staff recommended a couple of conditions. We're finishing up the technical review on this with our engineering department. So the conditions are listed there before you. The applicant will continue to work with city staff to make all final corrections to the plat for recording. Prior to plat recording, the applicant will provide staff with a final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures of owner's consent to dedication as identified on the attached subdivision plat. Prior to recording, the applicant will provide staff with a final set of CCNRs and bylaws to include notarized signatures. The plat will meet the applicable requirements as found in Lindon City Development Manual. Final covenants, conditions, and restrictions will be recorded with the subdivision plat and all items of the staff report. So does the commission have any questions for me?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't see anything that it's not compliant with. And the main reason we're reviewing it is just to approve to recommend approval for the condominiums.
Correct.
It's like you said, there's 5 condominiums in each unit that are being proposed. So that makes it a major subdivision. So it seems to be compliant to me.
Yeah.
Do anyone else have questions?
This seems to be really popular. We've done
Yeah.
a lot of these lately.
It's gonna get more popular, I think. Just with the market the way it is. Commercial office is easier to sell if you break it up than do it all in one.
One big unit.
Yep, yep.
Well, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, any questions for Mr. Pilling? Okay, then do we have a recommendation for approval?
I would make a motion that, I recommend that we recommend approval of the applicant's request for preliminary approval of the Lakeview West Warehouse condominium plat with the noted conditions 1 through 6.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous.
Thank you.
That was pretty easy if you're compliant on everything, huh?
I'm fine, they're the best looking buildings around there, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we're supposed to decide what you want to do with the chair and vice chair.
It's not what I decide.
Oh, I know, but you conduct that.
So really, it's how the commission wants to decide if you want to nominate someone for chair and vice chair, or, you know, if you want to do paper ballots, or however you would like to do it.
So what's the duration?
Just 1 year.
And Sharon, you've done it how long?
But no.
She's going on
Sure.
year 10, 12, what is it?
No, it hasn't been that long, but I've done it for a few years, so if someone else would like that opportunity, I think Rob would do a good job, being the chair.
I really like the prettiest person on one of the prettiest two people on the.
That way they command more attention.
That's right.
The rest of us listen.
I don't mind doing it again, but if there's someone that would like that opportunity, I'm fine with that too.
Renee?
Why are we asking me?
Because you asked a question earlier.
I was just curious what the parameters were and all that. I mean, it's Sharon, it's really up to you. You do an excellent job, but if you're feeling like, you know, you don't want that continued, you know, responsibility, then just say it, and someone will step up. It's up to you.
The way I feel is I'm fine with the responsibility. That's not an issue. It's just if someone else would like that opportunity. I mean, it's not a problem to continue doing it, but I'd be happy to let someone else take that if they'd like to.
Who is our vice chair? Is that Steve?
Steve. Mhm.
It was great. Sharon never missed a
You
meeting.
never got a chance to cut your
Very
teeth off.
reliable.
Well, COVID entered into that. too.
Yeah, that's true.
Couldn't go anywhere, could
I'd
you?
move that we stay status quo so Steve gets an opportunity to maybe chair a meeting or two. Rob and I have had that opportunity.
I'd third that.
I'd fourth it.
It's
Guys,
unanimous.
you really don't need to do that. I mean, I am fine if someone else wants to.
We're gonna wait until you've had enough.
Anybody wants to necessarily do it. Yeah, it's like anybody have a burning desire to do it.
I think not being the chair gives us a little bit more freedom to be obnoxious and make comments.
Well, I just tell the rest of them to make comments, and then I just moderate it.
Do a great job, Sharon, and why don't we just go into it with the next year? I like the idea of holding status quo, and then by the end of next year, we'll have, someone else will step up.
Well, and this last year has been pretty disjointed as far as
Right.
meeting as a council, you know, as a commission, and part of us online and part of us not, you know, and it it seems good to have all of us here again.
Yeah, feels
It
good.
makes it a lot, it seems like it's a lot more cohesive as far as the group. But I'm fine with doing it, if you'd like me to.
I think we had a motion
But-
and a second.
Yeah, and we had a fourth, I think. Maybe even a fifth, right, Justin?
I appreciate your confidence, but I don't want to take that from somebody that would like it.
I think you're it,
I
Sharon,
really
so,
think you're,
okay.
Don't talk your way out of it.
all in favor? Aye.
No, I mean.
Make that official enough where we named Sharon and we named Steve? Do we need to do it more?
Kathy, do you need anything more official than that?
That will work.
Okay.
Kathy's laughing.
I think it's a good choice.
I just hope the mayor's okay with that and the council. I mean, do they have a say
I
on
think they
that?
give that description, so.
Great choice.
Okay,
We don't have to run for election, do we?
No.
well, that's
nice.
why I have always stayed on planning commission, because I'm not running for election.
Not politically inclined, willing to serve, but not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fine. I'm glad to do that, and it's always fun to come down and harass Mike and Anders all the time, too. And they do such a terrific job, and the council does, too, that, you know, that
I
it's.
watched, Mike the other day did a pretty good presentation to council on short-term rentals.
Well, and that's one of the things that I thought would be really good to have you give us a little bit of information on
I'd
tonight.
like a brief summary of that.
I haven't been to the last couple of council meetings because there wasn't a lot on the agenda except that.
What was that?
Go to that, document.
It wasn't resolved, there were still a lot of questions still hanging. It wasn't resolved as to what we want to do on that ordinance, or.
I think, yeah, let me go to that real quick. So basically, we kind of talked about these 9 items. Correct me if I'm right, Councilman, but we're just going to put together a very general ordinance just to give some kind of more policy direction on things. So just general things like, you're only allowed 1 short-term rental at your home. Some parking requirements, probably following the accessory apartment parking requirements. We're not going to do a maximum occupancy right now. Responsible party, so they have to have a pamphlet inside the door that, or, in a very well seen area where it, kind of lists the rules. Here's contact information. Here's who you can contact 24 hours a day. Here's the number to the non-emergency number to the police department. Here's kind of our house rules. We talked about a business license, so we can track those. It seems like we have about 12, and so we're not seeing a huge issue. I've had, in the past year, I've had 1 complaint. There's one across the street from Wadley Farms that is holding wedding receptions and things like that. I've given them notice, and I haven't had any
They
complaints.
sold the house and somebody moved in permanently, so that's
Oh.
solved itself.
Perfect, good, because they were living in Virginia, I think, and so, that's kind of what covers, no commercial uses, so you can't use it for events, weddings, receptions, parties. Just maintaining it well, making sure you're paying the transient room tax, so these are considered a hotel, basically, or a lodging, and so the city does get a hotel tax off
The
of.
city gets it or the state gets it?
Both.
Both.
Yep. So we don't get a ton. 2 years ago, we got $800. Last year, we got $1,600. So it's increasing. We're getting, more. There are more people staying in this in the short-term rentals, or more people are using them, but,
What's the percentage on that? Or the tax, what is it? Is it a percentage?
it is, and I don't know if I've got that in my report.
But sites like Airbnb are collecting this and then remitting it to the city.
Yeah, if you use one of, if you,
If
you
you
know,
book through an
if
Airbnb
you book through
or
them.
VRBO.
Has there been a problem with people that have been doing it, doing more than one at a time?
No.
Okay.
I think as I look through them, we have one owner that rents 2 houses out. He's bought 2 homes for short-term rentals.
But they haven't, as far as you know, nobody's doing just rooms, so they got like 5 bedrooms they're renting
No.
out to 5 different people or something.
No,
Okay.
and this ordinance wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, it's probably good to have.
Yeah.
When you say owner occupied, I mean, like some of these people they live in West Virginia,
Yeah,
and they're
we're
still-
not saying it has to be owner occupied.
we're not saying it has to be owner
No,
occupied.
Springville just passed an ordinance that it has to be owner occupied, all except for, I think, 90 days out of the year.
Is there a reason why our city council wouldn't want to have that owner occupied except for a certain time period?
You can correct me, but I don't think we're seeing a huge
Problem.
issue or huge problem, so we were just going to kind of test the waters with a general ordinance, and then, if we see problems, we can always put
Can
more.
always fix it later.
Could you forward that to
Yeah.
us? I'd kind of like to review it. I've
Yeah.
had several
I've done a ton of research on
residents
what
that
other
have
cities.
asked me about it.
Yeah, I've done a ton of research on other cities' ordinances, what they require. You know, Sandy, Moab, St. George, they have some of the most strict. Riverton, they have some of the most strict short-term rental
'Cause
ordinances.
it's probably evolved as they've had problems, they've had to adjust
Mhm.
it to.
Like Sandy, they only allow they've split their city up into like 12 districts, and you're only allowed so many per district, and kind of like our R2 ordinance a little bit.
I'm just aware of one, and I don't think it's being used as a short-term rental right now. I think it's being used as a rental
Yeah,
right now, but I know the neighbors had a lot of concerns with landscaping being kept up also. And I know we don't have any residential landscaping requirements, but also a lot of cars being parked all over,
yeah,
and then also noise,
yeah.
and it was mostly in the winter when the ski season was on.
Mhm.
So I don't know how that is monitored as far as parking and that kind of thing. Is it by complaint driven or?
Yeah, I mean, all of our code enforcement's by complaint driven.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Well, there's something's going on over on 400. Over on 400, about halfway between 400 and 600, somewhere in there. Some people moved out, some people moved in. Now if you go by there and there's 10, 12 cars parked out in front of this house, packed as many as they can, then out on the street, so I don't know what it is, but,
Where is that at?
Over on 400.
And what, 400 north and what?
It's 400 north. No, wait a minute. It's 400 east, but it's up the house just north of the ditch that we just filled in. So about halfway between there and 450 north, is it
So it's
600
off
north?
of, going north off
Yeah.
of 400 north.
Yep. When you drive by, you'll see all these cars. It's like a used car lot suddenly. It just happened within the past month or so.
And there's not any kind of city ordinances that protect neighborhoods on that type of thing?
you've got I think our ordinance says 48 hours for parking in the same spot, but
Is it 48 or 72?
I think ours is actually 48, but I'd have to look, don't quote me on that. But but if someone moves their tire a foot, then, that they're in compliance, so.
Well, if there's that many people living there on a regular basis, isn't there?
That makes it really hard, to figure out how many people live in a home. If
But
they're unrelated or related, it's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is if there's I mean, we do have an ordinance in place on how many unrelated people can live in a household.
That is correct, but to be able to enforce that, that's a little bit more difficult.
A little
But
tough, yeah.
They
Well-
say they're all cousins, huh?
There's also a, House Bill 82 is going through right now, single-family modifications. It's not gonna be good for the city either. It says the bill prohibits local and state governments from establishing
Right.
accessory dwelling unit restrictions regarding things like the size of the unit, the size of the lot, parking, street frontage. And it even, I read another thing on it that even, all the requirements we have for firewalls, second panel, all that stuff, they're trying to do away with all that.
they are.
Mike's aware of that. He probably can give us some updates on that.
Yeah, the league's pretty certain that some form of that bill is going to pass to require, or to allow or permit, they're saying permit accessory apartments in any single-family zone. So by right, you would be allowed to have an accessory apartment. You can require one parking space. And
Not
s-
two,
not
because
two.
ours says two.
Yeah, so one parking space. And then, yeah, there are a bunch of building code modifications they're going to make
That are
for
gonna,
that.
it-
So,
in the long run, it may help us to figure out how many we have in the city, if there's no longer a penalty, like if they no longer have to do a firewall, no longer have to have a separate panel, heating and air and all that stuff, people may be willing to come forward and say, yeah, I have one of these.
yeah. Basically, the state, in the summary the Utah League of Cities and Towns gave this morning, basically the state is saying, we know there's a housing crisis, we're going to figure out a way to help solve it. So
Yeah.
one of
Wow.
their ways is through accessory apartments, so.
They're not weaving into that the possibility of not allowing accessory apartments to count for affordable housing, are they?
They've never.
They already, that's already one of the, yeah, they do that.
They do already.
Well, yeah, they're not changing it is
They're
what
not
I'm asking
changing
you.
that, no.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, that, out of that list of 21 or 23 items, I know there's a bill to increase that to requiring 4 of a municipality instead of 3 now. We have 5 that we put in our reports, we're already a little ahead on that, but
Yeah, they're taking a lot of control away from the cities.
with
Through all
that,
this legislation, they're just saying, you shall, you shall, you shall, you shall, and it's like, okay,
Coming
what are
down
we
from the
here for?
top.
yeah.
What?
Unfunded mandates.
Yeah,
What's the House bill number on that?
that was House Bill,
Didn't you say?
let me see, let me confirm,
There's 2 accessory apartment bills.
82.
I think, yeah, that one's 82, and I think there's another one that's 131 or something. I can get it for you and email it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. And that's going on in this session right now, right?
Just passed committee today,
Oh, good.
Yeah,
or yesterday, yesterday. So on 12 to 2 vote, it passed the committee, and so now it'll go to the House. The other big bill that's getting a lot of attention is just, it comes up nearly every year, but has better option of passing this year is with billboards, that any static billboard could be changed to electronic.
electronic,
Mhm.
and you have no control of the light, the light or anything. Yeah, I know from where I am, I keep wondering, what's that huge light down in the valley where I look at it? I eventually figured that's a billboard. It's, I mean, it's a big,
You have some controls on lighting.
Not under this, not under this bill.
Wow, they must have a good lobbyist.
Yeah, they do.
It was interesting,
Yeah.
yesterday, sometimes I go listen in on, I told you on Republican Women, the speakers. And Carolyn and Randy were also there yesterday, but the legislators there were Kurt Bramble and Kevin Stratton. But they asked, isn't his name Kurt, isn't it? Yeah.
Kurt Bramble.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
asked him, in fact, it was Randy that asked him about that bill, and he said, well, one of the problems that, one of the debates on that is, he said, like, in Orem, there's certain businesses like University Mall or Riverwoods or these places that, they're saying, well, yeah, you can have a static billboard. But then they're saying, but they're not allowing it in a lot of other places. And so he's saying, they're looking at, or like Traverse Mountain, they've got their big static billboard, and he said, what they're trying to do is have that be equitable or not discriminatory as far as who they allow to have it and who they don't. And Randy brought up that Lindon, they aren't allowing it at all right now, the static billboards. So there's not a discrimination thing, and he's gone, well, that's part of the discussion is how do you allow it for some and not for others? So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
the Libertas Institute's a very active liberal think tank here in Utah, and they're very successful at pushing a lot of this stuff forward.
I'm sure that's true.
Everything that you see that has been, oh, that's unique, it's come out of them. Like this bill, I think this bill to eliminate all these things for accessory dwelling units, all it's doing is rolling back a bunch of regulations that were designed to protect the resident.
Protect the renters.
To
so their
protect the
housing
renters
is-
and to do
is
things like that, so
safe
they're rolling a lot of that stuff back. And there's also something, they've come up with something they're calling a regulatory toolbox or something, some way that, I guess too many small startup businesses have run into problems, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. So they're redoing something on the state level to allow them to, businesses to get started and do, so get around the existing laws and ordinances. So it's yet to be seen. They've done some great things for us too, but on the flip side, they've done a lot of things that just some may feel is a little bit,
Overreaching.
overreaching, or they just want anything to do with getting rid of government, getting rid of controls, getting rid of all that. That's their push.
Well, on the billboards, you're seeing more schools have electric, information signs. Does that fall under a billboard? I mean, like Oak Canyon now has one that's, electronic and,
So most cities consider those electronic message centers.
okay.
So, I don't believe we allow those, we don't allow them except for I think the schools.
At a
have
school.
some. And then we do allow them if you're within so many feet of I-15. So
Okay.
you could put up a pole sign with an electronic message center if you're within so many feet. I think that's it
Do you
for
have
me.
anything else?
No.
Well, of course, we want an update on what's happened with the temple.
Anything either, so, I think they plan on filing an application when we met with them in either end of December, 1st of January. I think their goal was to submit for a site plan approval the end of March. So, but staff would review their engineering, it'd probably be sometime in April, I would assume. If they submit in March, it'd probably be sometime in April when the commission saw that.
Yeah, I've seen engineering people over there measuring and surveying,
Yep.
for sure.
I think their plans to do a groundbreaking in the fall,
Oh, okay.
so.
Well, that's helpful.
So, one of the things I thought that was interesting is the access, because you had mentioned, I had mentioned that so many people had talked to me about the access coming from 200 South, and that's not gonna happen.
No, the only access will be on Center Street, and they'll have 3 access points, I believe, on Center Street.
Wow.
They just couldn't work anything out with the school district.
And
So
then
they're
you
not going to cut
mentioned-
into any of the fields over there at Oak Canyon, or they're going to try to keep it in that 10-acre parcel, pretty much?
Yeah, they've purchased a couple properties on Center Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's 13.1 acres.
Oh, 13, okay.
And then as far as you mentioned steeples, but that's gonna be interesting.
No, well,
Just,
just because under our city ordinance, you will have to give an exception to the height requirement. So you'll have to make sure you feel comfortable with that. The height, I believe the top, the height is about 75 feet. And then with the steeples, you're about just a little over 200. So,
We have been told there's not going to be an Angel Moroni.
There
There's
is
not?
All the new ones don't,
Oh,
all the new ones don't have them on the pictures.
On the what?
Probably the last 2 years, all the renderings that have been released, none of them have Moronis on them anymore. That's the new trend.
why is that?
White privilege thing. They see it as white privilege, putting a white angel on,
Well,
up on
he's
top
not
of the
white, he's
temple.
gold.
Oh,
Yeah, but they know he's
Yeah, but I
a
don't think
white
that,
guy.
he was ethnic, I think, so it would have been, we could have got past it.
no, this isn't going on the record. No, we better change that discussion.
White.
He's way too white. He's described as white beyond anything we've seen.
And then you mentioned that the city council may be making some improvements to Center Street.
yeah,
Over
they're
the next
coming
few
up with a
years.
plan to, kind of a multi-year plan, I think, to.
We're gonna have a
work on
monorail that goes from like State Street and,
a monorail.
come on, Van Cherry, come up with something like that.
It'll be phased in.
A gondola?
Everything won't happen at one time, but it'll.
Right.
The plan is to phase it in and.
I know, a question comes to me, I've had the question asked to me, and I don't know the answer to it, but down on 700, Anderson Farms, they have 2 exits out of Anderson Farms. Currently, they are unsignal controlled. I know the overall plan, our village plan says that those are gonna be signal controlled. Is that something we're just waiting for the developer to put in? Or we're going to
That's-
put the?
UDOT has to do that.
It's gotta be warranted, there's just a lot of study and stuff. that goes
Yeah, because I myself saw an accident, somebody pulling out, trying to get out of there, down near the Beyond building, that exit down there.
Yeah, I know there is a plan in place to put a light in at, 2000 north,
Which
sorry,
is-
2000 west.
Is that, which one's that? Is that
That's the one by
current one?
the old Noah's, where the
Yes.
new office building going in, there's a light plan for right there.
Okay.
They're doing some, UDOT's doing some additional studying about widening, through there to add another lane, I think, so the turn lane.
Yeah, it's a major traffic jam turning onto I-15 heading west.
So they're studying that right now, and I think I thought this summer the light was supposed to go in, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
Yeah, because they're building fast and furious over there, so.
Yep.
I assume that this will be taken care of as the temple comes by. I'd like to see it earlier if possible, but this traffic light on Center Street and State is an absolute joke.
You avoid it at all costs.
Is it just delays?
It's not functioning right. It's, I use it a lot, and you'll go there and you sit there and sit there and
Sit.
sit
The
there.
del-
If you're trying to make a left, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to
Yeah.
head
Yeah.
south.
Have cars get out of their car, passengers of another car, and walk over and hit the crosswalk button and get back in their car hoping. The other day, I went through 2 cycles, and on one of the cycles, the northbound traffic got a red light, but the southbound never did. And so we sat there through 3 cycles.
I'm sure from a traffic perspective, what they're doing is they're looking, State Street's a higher volume, it's a state route. And so if you go down to 1600's a more normal light, because 16 is another major artery, where I don't think our Center Street is considered a major artery, so it gives priority to
Well,
State Street.
Yeah,
So-
but it's got a motion sensor on it, and when you pull up there, and there's no traffic, I've been there when there's no traffic on State Street. And you sit there and wait and wait and wait.
Yeah.
There's people that are turning right and then doing a U-turn right in the intersection
Yeah.
to go south,
Yeah.
so I don't know if the state can look at it and see if there's something malfunctioning.
It's probably just a setting. It's probably just a setting on the intersection. They just given priority based on time
Yeah.
or whatever to the,
Yeah,
to
I'll
State
bring
Street.
that up, I can email them.
The other thing with that is it's timed just perfectly. If you turn on 400, if you turn left and go the speed limit, you will hit the red. It will just turn red right every time. 400, yeah.
But if you're turning left off 400 to get on State Street.
Right. If you come
You're
down
gonna,
400,
you're gonna hit the red light.
you're gonna hit the red light here, or
1600.
you're gonna push it through.
Yeah, It's like
No,
on
I think
1600, when
far.
I'm coming to work, if I'm one of the
I
first two
backtrack
cars, or maybe
Yeah,
even the third car
1600 's
taking
the
a
one I
left
go
onto
to.
State, I can make that next light, but I can't, if I'm the
About
fourth car, I'll
1600,
never
we
make
went
it.
down to 200.
If you're the
200 's
first
not
car
bad
and
either.
you,
You probably get
Push
caught
it a
every
little bit
morning,
back.
right?
2000.
Every morning.
every morning.
That one's not bad.
I
Heading
know,
down to BYU, yeah.
I know, you know,
You
how
just
to.
have to have a 0 to 80 in
Wadley
6
Farm,
seconds.
the 2 hours.
My little Nissan doesn't do that, but.
See, you gotta drive
Sit
faster.
there a while.
That's not bad.
No,
Yeah.
It's
you get
consistent.
up to 50 until you hit the
Yeah,
hill, so
agreed.
you slow down as you go past the
Yeah.
police station, then you're good.
Sure.
Well,
But you really have to push it.
Then I would really like to know any updates that you have on, and you and I talked last week, and I know there wasn't too much, but on, back behind Lindon Nursery, and then also on the Norton property.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
where things are at on those two properties, because those are big items we have right now.
Yeah, so the council approved the zone change for Lindon Nursery, so we're just waiting for them to submit plans. From what, last time I talked to Jeff, was that if he couldn't get his new access road in before the end of March, then Lindon Nursery is gonna make him wait till July, so it didn't interfere with their
Season.
season. So I imagine, I haven't seen any plans, and so I doubt that road's going in before the end of March, so, because it's still gotta come through you guys or us, so I imagine you probably won't see something for a few months. Then it'll come to you for subdivision and site plan approval. The Norton property, so they have, they went under contract with, a residential home builder for the townhomes. They've decided to partner with somebody on that. They've decided that they filed applications for the zone change and general plan amendment, but they have decided they want to file applications for subdivision approval and site plan approval and try to do all 4 items at the same time.
Wow.
So, that was against my recommendation, but, that's what they want to do, so. My recommendation was they should try to go through for their zone change first to make sure they'll get it, and if the council and commission have any changes before they spend
Yeah,
tens of thousands of dollars on engineering, but that's not the direction they wanted to
boy,
go.
that's gutty on their part.
Real good. I noticed they've already started disassembling the arena.
Well,
Yeah. And I'm getting, because of that, I'm getting almost daily questions from my neighbors of what's going on. I just tell them I don't know, but
So that's the information we have.
Well,
do you
to
know,
me-
as far as their latest plan, are they, I know there's been so many different options, one where they were gonna, 570, they were gonna put into a cul-de-sac, or are they going through? Do you know any idea what the latest?
Yeah, the current one has it as a cul-de-sac, so I don't want to give too much
No,
information.
that's just fine, I just was curious
But,
about that.
yeah, like, just because I don't want to prejudice anything before they have a chance to, we send public notices out and stuff. So, but yes, on that one, that's correct.
Trying to find it. I noticed the other day when I'm searching for lots, there's something right over in that same area there saying it's for sale. It's listed on Zillow for 1.9 million or something.
Oh.
Do we know what that is, or is that them just hedging their bets? I didn't zoom in on it, but
Where at?
something right here on State Street.
You think it's
It's
this
not over
parcel
here, is it?
Is
I
it
don't
that,
know. I didn't,
next to that house you just sold, Justin?
I'm trying to pull it
I
up.
don't think so,
I'm trying to pull it up, but
Just
it
sold
didn't.
one for that amount?
not for 1.0. Well, we sold this one that's down here that this guy's been collecting for this 55-plus community that
Yeah,
was approved 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And he bought that to add to his
yeah.
potential
Did
development.
you buy the Abbott home, or which one did you?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
on him.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, no, it must be a mistake.
on Main Street.
It's on Main Street, across from the dealership,
Well,
split level.
I mean,
It looks,
and I don't want to pressure you either, Mike, but from the impression I got,
19
the
acres.
residential person that they have.
37.9 acres,
Oh, that's
19 million. That's probably that property, the Norton property. They're
No,
hedging
that's
their bets.
That's
No.
It's not?
700 North, they just have the,
This one is.
700.
That's the north side of 700.
Yeah,
That's
It's just-
19 acres.
yeah, that's what that is.
just the way Zillow puts the little dot, but.
they can do that? They can apply for every single, I mean,
You're allowed to apply for anything you want, so.
okay, so the zone change, and then what else?
They've already applied for the zone change and general plan amendment. They did that back in probably October, something like that.
But we didn't approve that.
Haven't even seen it yet because I haven't had
Yeah.
all the information. I was,
They want to add site plan approval to that as well.
and subdivision.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, that may be 700 north, that's on
Yeah.
here. Oh, that's the north side. The dot's just messed up, yeah.
What
The
is the
dot's
number
messed
of
up 'cause
units
it's
at
not-
this
it
point?
shows it by locust.
I think it's 74.
Okay.
Okay.
But
Okay.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
We'll have him worry about that.
we don't have to approve, I mean,
Well, that's the risk that the developer takes by doing their hard engineering and stuff. Not to belittle the city council, but I'm sure somebody, if it was perfect, is gonna wanna change something just to prove theirself. I'm Mike. Huh?
it will
And I
happen.
don't mean Mike.
It will happen, yeah. Yeah,
So,
okay. Well, but you don't have any idea when that's gonna be on the agenda, huh?
I do not. I mean, we're probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks just looking at engineering by the time we do our policy is to do a first review in 10 days, and then we send it back to, they've got to correct items, get it back to us. So we try to at least do 1 or 2 reviews before we bring it to you. So,
Okay,
And Mike, so I can tell the people that are asking me, I am telling them, you showed me that circle, so if they're within that circle, I'm saying you should get notice when it's coming. What's the lead time typically on that? So I can just say, you'll get a notice?
10 days. We
10 days.
postmark it 10 days before.
Okay, so at least a week before the meeting, they should get a notice.
Before, yep.
That will be just helpful to be able to tell them that, watch your mail, check it, you'll get a notice.
Yeah. Watch the city website as well. Periodically, that'll be on there.
okay,
And they're willing, they can reach out to us as well. Would be glad to keep them noticed as when that notice will come out.
Yeah, I think they're just anxious for information. I mean, they held that community, the developer came and got the community together,
So
and then,
the developer was very upset with me because planning department, engineering department felt like we needed a traffic study. We asked for that in November, and they kept getting mad at me because I wouldn't put them on an agenda. I'm like, I don't have a traffic study. We've requested a traffic study for this, and we also, back in August, I requested commercial renderings, so you can see what the buildings would look like, and they refused to provide commercial renderings, so I'm like, I'm not putting you on the agenda, because that's required, commercial renderings are required in the ordinance.
right.
And so, they were hoping last September to get on the agenda, but they won't provide me all the information, so.
so what are you waiting for right now?
Right now, I'm waiting on commercial renderings, I just got the traffic study, but now they want to wait and file their applications for major subdivision approval and site plan approval.
Sounds like they're trying to do some strategy or something.
No, well, I know when they looked recently, how the city council and planning commission meetings lined up, they thought they would just go ahead with all 4 applications as well.
Can't see them, can't see this body or the city council approving all of that all at once.
Well, it depends what type of application. If they bring it to you, it's a well-put-together application.
Yeah, that's
then what-
true.
You'd approve the general plan amendment, then the zone change, then site plan, then subdivision approval.
So the zone change, it doesn't have to go to the city council before,
It does.
No, it does.
I mean, it does have to go
Yeah.
to the city council, but it doesn't have to go to the city council prior to those other, approval on those other items.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out how that all works together.
Yeah,
Well, they'd like to be betting on become the city council
Wow.
Well, there's gonna, it's not a,
I don't know
there's,
if I wanna
there's
do that
opposition in
yet.
the community. I mean, so that usually turns it down, doesn't make it
They got their ducks
turnkey,
in a row, 'cause it
you know?
could be brutal.
Glad you
I'm
guys
afraid
know
it'll be
lot
a brutal
about those
meeting.
things. Yeah. Well, I guess unless others have items they want to bring up? Yeah, if there's information you'd like to bring to us, that'd be great, Mike. We appreciate you being here.
My grandson's got a basketball game screaming in 10 minutes, so I'm
Okay, yeah, yeah.
As far as the short-term housing goes, Mike has done a marvelous job of helping us to orchestrate through that. Initially, it was brought up under the guise of a public safety issue, but after a lot of friendly, amiable discussions at our last council meeting, we determined that a complicated ordinance, if you set up a system, you're required to monitor that system. So I think what we've got, as Mike said it best, it's a general ordinance, and what we've done is we try to be mindful of the property owner's rights as well as the neighbor's rights, taking into account that courts have ruled that these things are legal and legitimate and the cities can. But if you notice, the things that we've done really are just common sense kind of things. For example, making sure that the owners, we have a contact person if there's something that goes wrong, having a manual of some sort for the people who come in that they can reference, some parking considerations, and we decided that it didn't make sense to limit the number of people. Now, if you got 50 people, there may be an issue, but I think you'll notice that all of those things in the proposed, that we've discussed, it's not even a proposed ordinance yet, because we were just discussing it, but just to give you a background, that was a discussion we had, and we were all pretty much in unison about not, killing a fly with a bazooka, if that's the right word.
Correct.
We felt like we could address it to monitor, like you said, to get the transit room tax, to understand how many of these units ultimately we have in the community and so forth. But, just wanted you folks to know the background and perspective that the council is coming from on that. So we feel good about what we've come up with and feel like it sort of balances the needs of everyone in the pictures. And it is complaint driven. We've only gotten, to our knowledge, one complaint. And I think this is the one you were talking about. It's no longer an issue because the facility's not being used for that kind of thing again. So
Is there any reason to wait until this House bills that may
That's
affect it,
my question.
that you have to tweak it a little bit, or?
I'm not sure there's a bill on short-term rentals right
yeah,
now.
there's much.
Accessory apartments there.
Okay.
But we hope you, just again, a perspective, hoping you see where we were coming from. Certainly worthy of addressing, but not to the point where it's draconian, so.
Yeah.
So things like parking in that, if they came down with this thing of only one additional parking stall, and then you have a short-term rental, I mean,
Well, we
So
discussed
you-
that at length, and, I used the example, we did a Airbnb down in St. George, and really what it boiled down to is, are you gonna sleep there? Are you gonna stay there overnight? Because, we had probably 12 or 14 people in the unit that we were staying in, and there was 2 parking stalls dedicated. But, during the evening, we had relatives and cousins and friends all over. We might have had 40 people in there, playing games and eating snacks and watching ball games and stuff like that. So that's why we chose not to go how many people you could have in there. And they can park on the street, just like anything. If someone comes over for Sunday dinner, but again, the key, if there is any monitoring, the key is how many people actually are going to sleep there and how many people are actually going to legitimately park.
Well, the fire department gets involved, and they determine occupancy on those. I have short-term rentals, and Hurricane, for example, they tell you how many people can actually stay there. But by and large, Airbnb guests are awesome, and we clean those units like every other day or every fourth day. We're on site all the time. And I think your approach is right there, and then let the market determine how many rentals we get in here. Because if you oversaturate with Airbnb rentals, it's just not gonna make sense for operators to put those out there. And so you're gonna reach an equilibrium where it's still profitable for operators and affordable for guests. And when you're making $40 a night on, well, it's not worth it, and so people aren't gonna put them out there. So I think the market's gonna help us reach some kind of equilibrium here in Lindon, if there is. I don't know what that number is, but.
Yeah.
Finally, with the decision, you know, and we sort of felt like it was best to take a light hand initially, and we can always go back if it becomes a serious issue of some sort. We can always go back and add a little more teeth to it, but for right now, we just felt like it was a good compromise.
And I think it's also difficult to go and make laws that are technically very difficult to enforce laws. All that does is give people, when they complain about it, oh, they're in violation, do something about it, but then it's really hard to enforce that. You know, so you gotta come up with reasonable laws that can actually be enforced.
One of the concerns I had was just, when I counted them, I think 9 of the 12 we had were accessory apartments. And if we're trying to promote affordable housing, you know.
Are we losing that?
Are we losing that? But it sounds like the state legislature is going to help us plan for that anyway, so.
Yeah, it sounds like they're gonna
So,
and that's probably next in their legislative sandbox to deregulate that.
We were supposed to pass these out.
Better get, Mike.
Well, I think that's it. I forgot to pass the cookies out.
That's okay.
I can take one home.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? And
So moved.
I seconded.
Yep.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, make sure you get your cookie.
I've got some more questions for you.
thanks Kathy.
Computer to work?
No,
What's the deal?
I just did hotspot.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I have to do, but I don't know why I can't click in. So, I couldn't resist, you know, I went to refinance my house
Oh,
because
Right
I
to
could
the
drop it
table.
to 2%.
Oh, really?
without
Yeah,
paying fees.
yeah.
So, by doing that, they had to
Light my fire, light my fire.
home every night. They'll have to